Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And I decided to come in and do a live hangout concerning the Kenneka Jenkins, all this stuff about Kenneka Jenkins. And I decided to do it this way because, it's easier than actually making a video and editing it and all of that. If you'd like to and discussing it, ask for the link and I'll send you the link and we can talk about it. But I want to start off by saying that when I first heard about this story, I was so confused about the details of what happened. Um, you know, what were they in the hotel? Who rented the hotel room? How old do you have to be to rent it? I listened to a lot of the stuff that people were saying happened in the video. And I must honestly say that I did not hear all of that. And I did listen to the video over and over and over again. I watched it over and over again. And I was trying to hear everything that everybody was saying happen. Now, I did hear a couple things that were a little questionable to me when I watched all of the videos involved. But that's me as a parent. So first of all, I cannot say that I, am mad or upset at these kids for drinking at 19. I know that's not the age, they weren't legal, but who among us didn't have a drink at 19? Who among us did not get toe up at 19? So I can't say that I was mad at them about that. Now, the thing with all of them in the room, with all of these boys, it worried me a little bit, but it worried me as a parent because when you think about it, drinking, drugging a little bit, because they were smoking weed, and then boys sometimes don't mix. Hey, when my son was younger, he used to go to those hotel parties. Now, he didn't tell me he would go to them, but I would see pictures on his Facebook page where he had been at parties and I would ask him about it. And he told me it was hotel parties, and we didn't do that when I was younger. We just partied at our friends' houses. We partied out in the open. We went to clubs at 19. So I wasn't big into no hotel parties and all of that. Now, where I start getting confused is that everybody said that they were seeing in the girl's glasses. I saw what appeared to me to be some young men sitting across from her. And I didn't see all this stuff that everybody was saying, even though what they said swayed me when I watched the video. Because when somebody keeps telling you, do you see at this point in the video this happening, or did you hear this happening, even though I didn't hear it, I was suspicious of everybody in that room. Now also too, this thing about the girl code where you come together and you leave together, I'm a very strong believer in that. I done been with my friends, been fucked up, been young, and I done had a friend drag me off the dance floor with a guy. So she meant that she was leaving and I was coming with her. She didn't care who I met and what I was talking about. So the fact that she wandered off or wandered off. Now, I know that a lot of people are saying that, that they watched the video and that the girl in the video is bigger. I did see that. But it also looks like the video is like scrunched up. You know how when you watch something that has been, I don't even know the words for it, condensed or something, so it makes the video look squashed down. So I think that might account for her looking thicker, because I actually do believe that that is her. But the only thing that I'm confused about, y'all, stuff is still not adding up. I still have questions about, okay, so her friends are saying that they were on the ninth floor walking, and 1 minute she was behind them, and then the next minute they couldn't find her. Now, from what I understand, and I done been in a whole bunch of hotels, y'all. I used to be a travel agent, like y'all know, and I done been in a whole bunch of hotels all over the country, and some outside the country. When you get up on the floor to your room, there's only one bank of elevators. So if they all were walking towards the elevator, now there's only one, it's not like she's in the lobby. Did she go ahead of them and catch that elevator? Or did they turn back around and go in the room? She keep on walking and get on the elevator. You know, you get what I'm saying? Then this thing where, how did she get from the ninth floor to where she was? That kind of confuses me. You know, they said that she was um, walking past the front desk, all of that. So where were the people that worked at the front desk? You know, where were they? Did they just see this girl stumbling and bumbling by and they didn't say anything to her? They didn't ask, you know, are you okay? You know, where's your room? Or do you, or even do you have a room here? You know, because she did look really young. She looked young in the face, but to me, she you know, she had the body of a young woman, you know, curvy, shapely and all that. But if you saw someone bumbling and stumbling past the front desk, you know, did they need some help? Did they need help getting back to their room? Okay, so another thing that confuses me is, how did she catch the elevator down to an area that it was supposed to be under construction? Because here's why I said, I was talking to my mother about this, and I was telling my mother that if there is a floor in a building that you don't want people to go on, you can have the elevator bypass that floor. Now, let me just tell y'all what I mean. Have you ever been in a really tall building and one bank of elevators may go from 1 to 5, and then you go across the hall to the other bank of elevators, and they go from 35 to maybe the 70th floor. So when you get on that elevator is going to bypass floors 1 through 35. It's going to speed you up to the 35th floor. So if this freezer was in a basement, why did they not have the elevator not go to the basement? Meaning it doesn't go to what would be considered, I guess, the ground level. Okay. So then once she got down the basement, where it's the video where she's stumbling and bumbling in that kitchen. When y'all watch the video, didn't y'all see like a cup on the table? Hey, Jamaica. Um, I just when me and my mother, we were talking it out, we said that this could very well be simply a matter of this girl getting drunk and this being an unfortunate accident. But I'm going to tell y'all one thing up front. I don't care if it was an accident or not. The mother has a legitimate claim against that hotel for negligence, because they should have blocked off that area where they didn't want people to go. They should have had where that elevator did not go to that floor, because they're saying that this bank of this freezer was in the basement, right? So why couldn't they have the elevator not go to the basement? Because I don't think she took a stairwell from the ninth floor, not bumbling and fumbling like she was, because if she tried to walk down the stairs, um, she was all over that video. The first flight of stairs she went down, that girl would have been laying at the bottom of the stairs, unconscious. Another thing that bothers me, when the mother went to the hotel the first time and she asked them to view the video. Now, I understand that she was just a woman running into the hotel saying, my daughter was at a party here. She disappeared. This was the last place she was at. Can we view the cameras? They didn't know her from a can of beans. You know, they have to protect the people that actually rented rooms there. But could they not, when she left, said, well, okay, you know what? We do know that there was a group of, young people here throwing a party. Proof of that was because I heard they had to go up to the room and tell them a couple times to be quiet. So couldn't they have said, let's just take a look at the cameras and saw? Now, another thing that is confusing me is I thought when you have security guards and you have surveillance, that those security guards are supposed to be watching those cameras. Now, if they were watching any one of those 47 cameras, they should have seen her bumbling and stumbling around. Say you're a security guard and you're sitting in the security room, because in the building that I just worked in, and I'll tell y'all about that in another video. There was an altercation that occurred between myself, a woman that I was working with, and somebody who got fired. And the girl who had the altercation, immediately after it happened, she called the security desk and asked them had they gotten that on camera. And the security guards told her, wait 1 second and let them pull up the parking lot. And they said, yes, we got it. And immediately, it was within 1 minute, they were able to pull that up. Okay. Because she was in the parking lot. She told them she was in the parking lot. So what they did is they went and reviewed the camera that was aimed on the parking lot. So if the hotel knew that this party that these young folks were giving was on the ninth floor, why couldn't they, when the mother left, say, well, let's just look at the video from the ninth floor and see if we see a girl, and see what was going on. And maybe had they done that, maybe by that time she was just making it to the basement, or maybe by that time she was in the freezer, and maybe if they would have gotten to her quicker, she wouldn't have froze to death, because her mother was at the hotel 3 times, and I believe the first time was about 5 a.m. If she was in the freezer, then she would have, and her friends are saying the last time they saw her was about 2:30. Just say it took her 30 minutes to get down to the freezer. So that would make it about 3 o'clock in the morning. And if her mother was there at 5, she would have only been in the freezer 2 hours. And maybe she would have been a little frosty, but she would have been alive. The fact that they waited all those hours, and this is a sub-zero freezer, you know, she froze to death. And I believe that the reason why they did not let her mother see her right away there on the scene is because, y'all, she was frozen. And when they said that, like the mother said, when they said that they were defrosting the freezer, not only were they defrosting the freezer, like my mother said, they were defrosting her. Because remember, her mother said that when she saw her baby's hair was all wet and limp. Y'all, this story has me confused. I still don't want to let it go, because I'm thinking that maybe this is a terrible accident. But y'all, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Um, because there's still so many unanswered questions. Y'all know what I mean? I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I don't believe in that. I'm the type of person that I believe in facts and simply facts. But this has so many different layers. Also, like when the mother said that when she first talked to the kids, their stories were not jiving. Now, it could be an answer for that, y'all. It could be that them motherfuckers was just drunk. They was drunk, they was high, they was excited, and it wasn't jiving. So that could be an explanation. But the next day, when they, you know, were sober, and they, because when you're sober after you had a night of drinking, even if it was a night, y'all remember when we were younger and you used to get messed up, you be drunk, and when you first wake up the next morning, you might be a little fuzzy on stuff that happened, the night before. But as the day go on, you get some fluid in you, you eat, you start saying, "Ooh, child, did I leave my drawers out beside the house and shit?" You start remembering shit. So when those kids sobered up, why couldn't they give the mother more information? I just I don't know, y'all. And all the stuff that was going on in the room, because there were so many kids crammed in there in that little 2-bedroom, hotel room, that it was so much going on, you didn't know which way to look. Now the thing was, when the girl did the video with the one with the mirror glasses on, my question was this: where was Kenneka then? Because you see snippets of other people in the room, but you don't see her. Now, her best friend was in there, the girl named Monifa, or whatever her name is. She was in the room, but where was Kenneka then? See, y'all, I got so many questions about this that I just I don't understand it. And I'm still confused. In other words, I guess what I'm saying is, I think it might be that she stumbled, unfortunately. I don't know how though, y'all. I say it in one breath, well, maybe she did stumble in the thing. But then right after you say that, the questions that you have keep popping up in your head. Well, how did this happen? And if she was that drunk, how did she press buttons? Was she just pressing every button on the elevator? I don't know, y'all. It's this story, it is rocking social media. Um, it is it has people arguing back and forth about what they believed happened. It has people telling the people who are trying to figure it out, leave it alone. Police will figure it out. And one thing that I heard somebody in Chicago say, I got an aunt that lives in Chicago, been living in Chicago for years. And the aunt, the people that I watched said that the Chicago police told the mother at first that they couldn't look for Kenneka for 24 hours, but they actually did look for her before the 24 hours was up. Um, and they said that they did that because the mother was so adamant that the last place that child was seen was at that hotel. So they started there. The person that I also watched said that the police had questions for the hotel. The police, the person that I heard said the police were asking the security at the hotel, had been watching the monitor like you were supposed to be doing, you would have seen this girl stumbling and bumbling all around. So it sounds like the police think that the security at the hotel wasn't on their job. And I've been in hotels that are like that Crown Plaza. I think I've stayed in the Crown Plaza or a hotel similar to that. Like that, there is always someone on duty at the front desk. Hey, y'all, look, when I just had my fire, back in November. I stayed at a little video hotel. Wasn't nothing fancy about it. It was just clean, and it was a little video hotel. But I don't care what time of night it was, there was always somebody on duty at the front desk. The point I'm trying to make is, if that girl stumbled past the front desk like as she did, where were the people at the front desk? So you mean to tell me that the security wasn't watching the monitors? The person at the front desk either wasn't there or watched her walk past them, falling all around like that. Now I'm gonna tell y'all, if it was me and I was working the front desk and I saw a guest stumble out of an elevator, especially a young girl, because Kenneka in the face looked 16 and 17, in the face, because she had a little baby face. Now her body, like much like my daughter at her age, my daughter had the face of a baby at 19 and the body of a woman, because that's when, they're at their best. They're trim, they're curvy, and they look good in jeans. To me, I know a lot of people are saying that the person in the video looked thicker, but I believe that was her. I believe that was her. That's just my opinion. But if I would have saw somebody stumbling out the elevator, really able to stand up, I would have said something like, "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you need help back to your room?" And then when that probably when they set her, if they had said that and set her down, she probably wasn't making no sense, because one of y'all just commented that it looked a little bit more like she was a little bit more than drunk. I felt the same way. When I was showing my mother the video, my mother knew nothing about this story, nothing about the kids in the room. She didn't know nothing. When I asked her, has she heard about the Kenneka Jenkins story, she said, "Who the hell is that?" And the first thing my mother said when she saw the girl stumbling and bumbling around, my mother said, "That child is not just drunk. She owns something." And I told her, well, they were smoking weed in the room. And these kids are smoking everything but the damn trees out in front of the house. So they probably laced it with something. And you got to think, on top of drinking and you smoking this super weed that these kids got today, she probably was incoherent. And, if they'd have talked to her, maybe this could have been avoided. Now, I think, like I said, yeah, I did see a little snippet of it on CNN, but they're not covering this like if this was somebody white. Because that's the first thing my mother said. She was like, well, was it on television? I said, I think I saw just probably like a minute on um, on CNN, but would do a story had this happen to a 19-year-old a white girl. Let's just keep it real, y'all. I'm about to choke here. Excuse me. So I don't, at this point, y'all, to be honest, I really don't know what to think. I'm still thinking that there's more to this story. Um, I'm still suspicious of her friends because, and I'm just going to keep it real, y'all. At 19, I was in college. And when I tell y'all that I was getting fucked up, I was getting fucked up. Um, and I have had times that I have been as drunk as Kenneka appeared on that video. But I was able to make it home safely every time. I have been well, I would say this, I had been so drunk at that age that I have woke up to where I met someone at a bar and the person was in my room, in my roommate's bunk bed. Now, obviously, it was obvious that we hadn't done anything, because I was in my top bunk, because by me being short, always had me on the top bunk and them on the bottom bunk. And I woke up to saying, "Who the fuck are you?" And the person was like, "Do you remember that you told me to come home with you?" Don't act like you don't know me now, you know. And they were in my dorm room, and we were in dorms that could not have boys. I don't even know how I got him past the front desk drunk, you know. So, but the point I'm making is, regardless to who was in my room, I was in my room in my dorm. You get what I'm saying? So, the fact that this girl was so out of her mind that, you know, she ended up where she was, leads me to believe, first of all, that it was a little bit more than just drinking. Now, I don't know, did it looked like they was drinking liquor, because, you know, I didn't see beer bottles and stuff. And wait a minute, I'm going to read some of you guys' comments. It says, it looks like she was spiked. Her mother in the 911 call said that she rarely drinks and has a low limit. The girls in the video were coaxing her to drink and have a good time. I did hear that. One of you, Jamaica, you said, I don't think there's footage, but based off of the surveillance, a lot of us are saying she had more than alcohol in her system. I agree, because she didn't just appear, she appeared like, okay, when you're drunk, will be weaving and bobbing. But this girl seemed, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Like she was spaced out, not only drunk, but spaced out, incoherent, like she didn't know where she was going. See, I have been so drunk, but think about it, y'all. Think about when y'all drunk and y'all at a bar and you got to go to the bathroom, and you ask somebody where your drunk ask somebody where the bathroom is. Drunk as you are, you're still able to find that bathroom. If they point you in a direction, you find the bathroom. It might take you a minute staggering to get there, but you find it. I have been so drunk, y'all, when I was younger. I don't drink no more, but I've been so drunk, y'all, when I was younger, that it was raining outside. I didn't have an umbrella, and I told my friends that I was going to run between the raindrops. Now, you know you drunk when you think you about to run through some raindrops. So that's what I'm saying. It had to be a little bit more than that alcohol, because that girl on that video, did you see the part when she was walking towards the white iron staircase and she bumped into it and almost basically flipped over the staircase, because it was like she didn't even see it there. She basically bumped into it, it knocked her to the side, and she, to keep from falling, she actually caught on to the staircase. That girl, she was past shoot. Now, the another thing that I'm waiting on, y'all, is the toxicology report, because that will tell us if it's something else in her system. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all something that my mother said that made me think, think twice about this. My mother said, because I had told my mother about what the police had said when all of this first went down, that she simply walked into the freezer, laid down, and practically died. And then I told my mother that I did see this police chief say that, you know, that it was only 2 or 3 days in, let them complete their investigation, blah, blah, blah. He was talking to one of these little community activists there. And my mother said this is what she believes. She says she believes that the police do have more information than what they're putting out right now. My mother asked me, when did this happen? And I told her it was last Saturday, I believe. I know it happened on the 10th. I don't remember if that was Friday or Saturday. But my mother says she believes that the police are holding back some information. Now, the information that I'm wondering about, whether the information that they're holding back is that she was raped. See, they may know that and are not putting that out. That's what my mother believes. My mother says that the reason why she believes that is because, you know how old folks watch all these crime shows like ID Channel, which I watch those too. And then, you know, those crime shows they do on called 48 Hours and all that stuff. My mother says she has watched so many of those where the police know a lot, But to put together their story and keep people talking, they don't tell them all that they know, so so they can trip up people. She said they don't even put out to the public all that they know because they want to hold some of it back, for the investigation. Now, Shannon, that's a question I had. Who paid for the room? Now, Shannon, the reason why I asked that question, I have a 22-year-old daughter, and she's about to be 23. And I asked my daughter, um, can you rent a hotel room when you're 18? And she said she didn't think so. So I asked her, can you rent it when you're 19? And she told me she didn't think so. She told me that when when she went to spring break, before she was 21, and she said that the person that rented the room had to be 21. If these girls were 19, my question was too, who rented the room? Now, this is what I'm thinking, y'all. Remember when they said that her friend Monifa worked at the hotel? Well, no, who? It was Irene that worked at the hotel, right, y'all? Because I'm getting these kids' damn names mixed up. Who was the broad that actually worked at the hotel? Was it Irene? It was Irene, because Monifa worked at McDonald's. So listen, what I'm thinking, y'all. So if you got a friend that work at the hotel and y'all underage, if you the hotel online, like you hold the room online, and your friend is going to be at the desk when you check in, then nobody knows how old you are, because she not going to ask you for your ID. Now, I don't know, when they ask for your ID, um do they have to take a copy of it, to put on file with the room to say that the person was was of age? She may have, if they were all 19, maybe she got past, helped them get past that age thing. Because does anybody know how old you have to be to rent a hotel room? Do you have to be 21? See, I don't know. I don't know. I'm reading some of y'all comments. Someone says there's some footage of two of the friends using stolen credit cards. I think they say that they're looking for them for fraud. You said that the video is on YouTube. As if the autopsy was inconclusive, I believe that is why they put her in the freezer, because anything frozen does erase evidence. Let's see. Okay. Harlem Renaissance says she believes Irene is 21. Well, that explains a lot. Then, she probably, like the other person said, she paid for the room and she's 21. So that's how they got in. I'm going to just tell y'all another thing. This is a cautionary tale for those of us who have daughters, because I don't care. Now, this is the mother in me speaking, y'all. Okay, just bear with me on this. This is the mother in me speaking. A lot of those girls were harassed. When my daughter was 19, she would not have been going out the house with a bra on. And I'm not talking about Kenneka. All of those girls had those little bras on. Like, y'all, my daughter used to be wearing these short ass shorts, and I refer to those shorts as coochie cutters. And I told her she wasn't wearing that shit with me. Go upstairs and put on, because the shorts were so short, to me they look like panties. I don't play that. You're gonna carry yourself like a lady. Okay, then okay, now think about it. They in there with these little bras on. Now they did have on their little jean jackets. Nobody was in there with the little bras on without a jean jacket. So they did put the jean jackets on. But it was just, as a parent, it was so much going on in that room that I wanted to go in there and say, put some damn clothes on, get these boys out of here. What y'all doing drinking? Because it was too much going on. Now, like I said, I remember being young. I remember being 19. So I don't want to be sitting up here as a 52-year-old woman down in these kids, because I have been there, y'all. And I just told y'all, when I was in college, look, a child was there to get a degree on how to get drunk and how to party. and my classes was secondary because I was down there getting my party on. When I tell y'all I was partying, I was getting my party on. I had to scramble at the last minute to get a decent grade. So that's why I said I do not want to be that person that's sitting up acting like, oh my God, they were drinking and smoking weed, and but it was just worst case scenarios for shit going left was at play in that room. Um, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Because every time I get ready to say, let's chalk this up as a mistake, I can't let it go. I just feel like the friends know something. I just feel like there's something else left out there on the table that we don't know about. I just saw a video of the mother and child walking out of the stairway right before the elevator outside the kitchen about 20 minutes after Kenneka is. Okay. Somebody was making her a drink in the bathroom. I need to get a link so I can talk, so y'all can talk instead of type. Put the link out there. Y'all, this this shit is crazy. And I think the reason why this is bothering all of us the way it is because first of all, we all have been that age, and we all know how people can set you up. We might have had a friend that been set up to get jumped. We might have had a friend that been set up to have any number of things. So we know the shit like that can happen. We also know that these kids today are ruthless. And I'm just gonna keep it real. I thought the kids in our time could be bad, but some of these kids is like baby gangsters. I also heard that girls were supposed to be in a gang there in Chicago, and that the initiation to this gang was for them to sleep with boys, to get initiated in. Now, I'm going to tell y'all, when I was younger, and we had some little baby gangs there, because I'm not going to say they were like the Crips and the Bloods and the gangs of Chicago or New York or anything like that, but we had some little baby gangs there. And I do remember that there were, and let me just preface this by saying, I used to hang out with them. I never was in it because my mother would have beat me worse than what the gangs would have if she'd heard that I was in it. But I hung around with them every single day of my teenage, probably my 15 and 16-year-old summers. And I remember girls that they got into the gang and they had to go through initiation of sleeping with some boys. So that part, I do know that in some gangs, that's part of the initiation for a girl to get in. So a lot of people were saying that that's what was going on that night, that maybe for it, they had to get the girls drunk so they can feel comfortable sleeping with those boys. So, see, when I watched the video, I thought that that's what I was watching. See, when I first saw this, y'all, I saw it without any explanation. There was a video that popped up on Facebook, and people were saying, watch this video. And you know how you're watching a video, but you're asking yourself, what am I watching? And then I started reading the comments on it, and then I went back after reading the comments. Then I went back and was like, wait a minute, what now? The girl is dead in the freezer. What? And then you're like, well, let me go back and watch this shit again with the stuff that these people are saying in these comments. So guys hear that these young women were in a gang? Is that, are they part of some type of Chicago gang? Because they were talking about the red and the black that they were all wearing. So that what's part of the story? She was so hot. Why did she? I'm just reading y'all comments as I'm talking. Let me see if I can. find the link to this. Normally I have the link and put it in where you can talk. I just know that I had a long talk with my daughter, y'all, about going out, about people, and everybody ain't your friend, and watch your own back, keep your phone. If you got to put your phone in your bra, don't hand your phone to anybody, because your phone is your way to call for help when you get in trouble. Let me tell y'all, I used to live in one city and work in another city, which was 2 hours away. And every Friday I used to drive home from that one city. And I used to think of everything to keep myself safe, because it was the winter time and I was driving in the dark, and I was like, I live in Ohio. Y'all know it's snowy. I said, what if I skid off the road and the phone is in the cradle, fall out the cradle, and I'm hurt and I can't reach the phone? So I came up with the bright idea, and this was about 15 years ago, y'all, because I've been living in this city 15 years ago. So the phones wasn't like the phones we got now. It was them flip phones, the big, not the big chunky ones, because my phone wasn't big, it was just fat. And I put that phone down in my bra, because I was thinking, I said, so, if this car skid off the road and I'm like, I can move my hands, but I can't really, move around, at least I can reach in my bra and push the phone for the police to find me or something. So, um, her phone, she could have, I didn't understand why the friends had her phone. I could see maybe having her mother's keys, because she had on tight pants, and maybe it was a big row of keys, and she didn't want the keys to show in her jeans. But why would the friend? Because her she her phone, I think, is glued to her hand. I'm just being funny here, y'all, with how she never puts the phone down. The moment my daughter gets up in the morning, and she's 22, that phone is in her hand. She takes it to the bathroom with her. She takes it to the kitchen with her. Everywhere she go, she takes that phone. So what I'm not understanding is, why did the friend have her phone as well? Oh, well, if you're trying to stay safe, I figure if my car flipped and I couldn't, and the phone fell out the holder and was on the floor, I wouldn't be able to get to it if I was buckled in. So that little 2 hour drive that I was driving home every Friday, I needed to feel safe, because, like I said, I'm coming from, like one city driving to another city. And, that was my way to keep safe. I just know this. I can't wait to see, how this all plays out. How, what the toxicology report says. Um, there was a rumor out there tonight that the girl Monifa, her friend, was arrested, but I think it was just for, they were out there protesting or something, and maybe they got arrested for trespassing. Did any of you hear that? Oh, you said that you read that she left the phone in the room. You said they had the keys in the phone. I think something happened in the room. Baby girl was trying to get out the room. I tell y'all, I'm sorry. See, this is the parent of me talking. When I was looking at what was going on in that room, I said, Lord, child, if my daughter was going to that shed, I'd be so mad at her, because I don't know if it's any young people on here, and I don't want to offend y'all, but it was just too much going on in there. It was too many ways that shit could have went left, because it was too many teenagers, too much drinking. And I can't believe that the hotel allowed it to go on that long, because at one point when they were all singing and loud, and I'm pretty sure that that was carrying outside of the room. But I think that that's probably why they were on the ninth floor. Don't y'all think when Irene booked that room, she told them to put them up on the top floor. I don't know if that was the last floor, but I think that's why they weren't on. Let me stop talking so loud because I know my neighbor's probably tripping. But um, I think that's why she put them up on a higher floor, um, from the, where people will be coming and going. They probably fill up the floors from the bottom up, and maybe the ninth floor was the last floor, and there wasn't that many people booked on that floor that night. And that way, if they had a lot of noise coming out the room, they wouldn't get complaints and they could party like they wanted to. But now, wait a minute. Did somebody say it's not too late? They should demand to check the whole body for cuts, scars, etc. He knew the manager. I wish her sister could go back when she viewed Kenneka in the body bag and unzip it all the way down to see her full body for cuts or something. Wow. But see, that's the thing. I don't think that they're, so y'all believe that the police are hiding what happened to her? I'm trying to understand what y'all believe is happening. Why are y'all saying check her body for cuts? Because if there's an autopsy done, call her, tell the mother what was on her body. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like when an autopsy is done, you know, doesn't the family get like how when you're watching a court show and they show the body picture and they show where the person may have been shot and all that. So if there are like contusions on her body and all that, wouldn't that information be given to her family? Oh, okay. So y'all believe that it's organ trafficking. But okay, let me just ask the people that say that it was organ trafficking. The mother viewed her. So wait a minute. Let me just ask this question. So if they took her organs out, wouldn't there have been some blood in there? And that would have alerted the police right there that something was wrong. But okay, I think what y'all saying is that if it's all a cover up because it is organ trafficking, then maybe the police are not gonna put that out there because a lot of people believe that that's already going on. Is that what y'all saying? Yeah. Somebody, Kitty said autopsies are very detailed and the family can have a private autopsy. And that's true. The reason why I was going that way is because I know I had an aunt that died, and very healthy woman, only 41 years old, never any history of any type of heart problems. And she died. She had a heart attack and just simply died. So when I was told to my family, because she was so healthy. Now, this was a woman that talked about health and eating healthy and doing right. So it was very unusual to our family. So they had a private autopsy done to make sure that what they were being told was true. Because, they just couldn't believe she could get up in the morning, go eat breakfast, got dressed, and then said that she was a little tired, sat down on the bed and had a heart attack, and it killed her. It wasn't even a heart attack that you have one and, that's your warning that you got some heart problems. This heart attack, she had one heart attack and it literally took her out of here. So, the family had a private autopsy done. So I believe that when this autopsy comes out, now something else my mother mentioned. Okay, so I heard that they did an autopsy on her, but is this the complete autopsy? Are we done? Because they said that from what I heard, they were mentioning that it was no, she had been raped. But the reason why I don't think that this is the complete autopsy is because I was watching this white police officer, and he was talking to this black activist, and he led me to believe that the autopsy wasn't complete because the guy asked him something about the autopsy, and he said, well, something to the effect, well, the complete autopsy has not been done yet. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I thought I heard that the police had said that, it didn't show any evidence. So it made me, when me and my mother watched it, it made my mother said maybe he slipped up and said that the complete autopsy wasn't done, because he clearly said that the complete autopsy was not done. That leads me to believe that what they originally put out, y'all, was not the full story. That's the point I'm trying to make. When they said that the autopsy didn't show any evidence of her being raped, but then you got this one police officer, I think he looked like a chief or something, and he got accosted in this hallway by this black guy, and the black guy was saying, you're gonna have to do better, man, you got to give him something. And so he was talking to him, and he said, wait a minute. And the guy was asking him all these questions, and then that police chief said something to the effect that the full autopsy wasn't done. So I said, well, maybe what my mother's saying is true, that the police do have more information. They just haven't released it yet, because he's sure. And I just watched this, I believe it was yesterday, and where I watched that police officer say, now maybe that was something that he wasn't supposed to say, because they're holding that stuff, close to the vest until the whole investigation is done. And the reason why it slipped up is because this black man, this activist, was pressing him. Now, it's not that fat guy that said that he's working with the family. This is a young guy, and he was cussing when he was talking to him, because he was saying, you got he was asking this police chief, have you seen all this stuff that's on social media, all this stuff that's brewing, man, y'all gonna have to get this shit together, and don't play with this investigation, because we need to know what happened to this little girl. And the police chief said, the guy mentioned something about the autopsy, and the police chief said, well, when we get the full autopsy. So that's when I was like, well, wait a minute. I thought y'all said that it was done. So I'm thinking that they released part of the autopsy, because they were saying that she was autopsied Sunday or Monday. I didn't think an autopsy went that fast. Not when it's this much hoopla about the way that the person may have died. I thought that they would be, because think about it, y'all. Is the coroner performing autopsies on Sundays and giving the report and all of that all in one day? I don't believe that that's the full autopsy. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, if she was raped, maybe we just don't know it yet. I You know what? I don't know how I want this to end. I don't know if I want it to be that just, unfortunately, she, staggered off into the freezer, and it's true, and she just fell in and closed the door behind herself and froze to death. I don't know if that's the way that I wanted to end, or if she was raped and somebody put her. So I guess I don't want it to be rape, because I don't want it to be that she was brutally raped, you know, choked, conscious, or killed, and then, or was half dead, and then they took her down to the freezer, and then she ended up freezing to death. It's just too much, you know. I just hope that, I don't want it to be that she was brutally raped. I guess that's what it is. I don't want the toxicology report or the autopsy to come back to say that she was raped too. She died in the freezer and she was raped. It's too much for the mind to handle, for this poor baby to have gone through. Y'all get what I'm saying? It's almost like I don't want both of them to have happened to her. I just hope that if she wandered down in that freezer and that was the way that she left here, that God took her before she could feel any pain. I don't want her to have suffered. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I guess I don't want her to have been raped. I don't know, y'all. Why does this story have us all? You know, when I come home from work, it's just like I get on the social media and see the latest on it. You know what I mean? It's like I can't get it out of my mind until they get some answers to some of these questions. Because y'all, I'm just a little old woman here in Ohio, but I got questions. And you know how you be like, well, okay, what if she did just go down there and fall in the freezer? But then you got all these questions. Somebody says she wasn't raped, she just overdosed. Somebody probably spiked her drink and she probably walked in the freezer by accident, but it felt good because she was hot and it was cool. All that was in contact with her since she walked in that hotel. Someone else says they have a 3-year-old daughter. Someone else says they should be interviewing all employees that were on duty. I totally agree, Shannon, because I got some questions for their asses. Where were you at? Someone says she didn't show any signs she was overheated, though. Peter said, I got me effed up. Effed up. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Peter. It does too. It's because we all got a little sister. We all was a little sister. We all have done this shit before. And I told my daughter, because my daughter is not a big drinker like I was. I told my daughter, there but for the grace of God go I, because I would have been the one. My daughter is a lot. She's a. I'm not gonna say I was a bad girl, but my daughter is a little bit better of a child. In other words, she's more focused than what I was. I don't even know how to put this shit because it sounds bad when you were worse than your child, but that's pretty much what it was. I'll give y'all an example. When my daughter moved into her freshman year, her freshman dorm, her dorm was right alongside the frat houses were. And so I had told her, had that been me, I'd have been over there making friends with all those guys over there, y'all. And I would have been over there getting my party on with some free beer every weekend. And she was like, oh, mom, when people, drink, they be smoking too. And so she don't like smoke. So that's the difference between me and her. I would have been over there partying and she was thinking about, cigarette smoking. Secondhand smoke kills you and shit. So I don't know, y'all. This whole story is something else, y'all. And it is rocking Black social media to the core. I have been sitting here for, I guess, the past week since it happened, just reading the commentary, watching the videos that people are doing. And y'all, they are dissecting this story like they are part of CIA. They working for the police force, and somebody put, and I'm just going to add the FBI. You said if the FBI gets involved, they could tell that if the tapes were altered. Yeah, they would be able to tell. That room was packed versus empty hotel. Oh, that is a good question. Somebody said, where are the tapes of her friends looking for her? Uh-huh. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? We got all these questions. People still have questions because that's right. There should have been tape of the girls looking for her. Okay, now that is something true. Someone put, I don't think she went in that freezer by mistake. In the video, it's near the staircase. She went into a room by mistake and came back out when she realized staggering. That is true. She did. And you just said it all because, yes, they were all friends. Janice said the case has been solved. There was no foul play in play. When my mother watched the video, she believes that the that Kenneka was slipped something. She truly believes that, but she also believes that this was an unfortunate accident. But my mother does not have all the information. Like, she didn't watch the first video. I kept trying to get her to watch the first video. She wanted to see the press conference with the mother, but I told her you have to watch the first video so you can understand why people have all of these questions. Uh, Someone says that girl that gave baby girl a drink, she should be arrested too. If there was a tape of her walking into the freezer, wouldn't that be the first tape you release? You would think so. Now, are they saying that the camera that was across from that freezer was on? Because, I expect the next thing that they're going to tell us is that camera wasn't working. They do that to us. Uh, this stuff just is, you said the staggering was about an hour from when we saw her take the drink. So she was probably getting increasingly intoxicated still. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something else that has happened to me. I have been out, and pretty much anybody on here who's had a drink before and been at a bar and, or been in the club, you know how when you're sitting down, a little buzzed, you know, but it's when you go to get up and start walking somewhere that you realize just how drunk you are because you're staggering. Maybe in the room because they were sitting and it was tight and it wasn't like they were walking, clearly across the room. But you know what? Even in the room, if she was that fucked up, she'd have been staggering. But I think once she got some air, the air blew through her, that liquor was hitting her. And like somebody said, she was getting more intoxicated the more, she moved around. Because I know I have been sitting down drinking and didn't realize I was as drunk as I was until I get up and start walking around. So y'all believe that it was an actor? I need to get y'all in here talking. Um, I just still believe that the friends need to be called in. Now, I'm going to end with this. The friends all need to be called in and questioned. They need to identify as many of those kids as they can in that video. Bring them all in one by one and grill each one of them for several hours until they can get a coherent story. Then once they get them all in, and I know hopefully they're doing this, and they get all of the stories of all the kids, then match that to what they see going on those 47 cameras and 36 hours of videotape. Because did they say that those cameras were motion activated? Oh, they talking about timestamps. I did see that. See, y'all must have been watching the same videos that I have. Some people are saying that there were older people. If it was people in their 30, my son is 30, and I couldn't picture him at a party for some 19-year-olds. I call um, men who are 30 messing around with 19-year-old girls, Chester the child molester. I know when my son uh, was 29, I think he was 30. This he was dating this little 22-year-old girl. I didn't know the girl was 22, but when I found out, I was like, boy, what you look like dating that little girl? She younger than she the same age as your sister, You need to stop that. So if her I'm trying to read y'all stuff. You said her mom knew she couldn't hold her liquor, plus mixed with the girl. I'm gonna tell you something else that I didn't like. Okay, a lot of people when they found out that the mother had gave Kenneka the car. A lot of people were saying, what would make you give the car to a young girl to go to a party or whatever? Say that she thought that they were going bowling. Oh, oh, I wouldn't have called. I would have been scared to call her mother too. Um, yeah. Now, Raymond, when the what you're talking about the timestamps, I noticed that too, because something I told my mother, and tell me y'all if y'all had heard this too. Thought that the girl said that the last time that they were in contact with her was about 2:30, because remember Irene's video they said didn't start well, when we started seeing the video, it was about 1:30 in the morning. Now, am I correct about that? They said that Irene's video, the one that we see, the girl with the red hair, they said that it was um started at 1:30. So if Kenneka was with them in the room, my was that they last saw her at 2:30. So when I looked at the timestamps, I said, well, okay, wait a minute. Was she with the friends at 2:30? Or how did she end up downstairs in the, you know, on the video cameras wandering through the hotel at about 3? Did she get away from them that fast? See, that's what I'm saying. We have all these questions. She said, where is the father? When both parents fight for justice, they will have a better outcome. There's a father, and it doesn't matter right now. She's gone. Um, if it and I'm gonna tell you something like this. There are millions of single mothers out there raising kids. If the father is not in the picture, that's irrelevant right now because this baby is gone. If this mother raised her child by herself, you know, I just don't like for people to kind of put it like if it was a father in the picture, because it's some single mothers out there doing a hell of a good job raising productive kids. If the is not in the picture, the mother was mother and father enough to get her to 19, kids. And I don't, another thing that I don't like is when people attack now in some instances, because let me tell you something. I have and I always say that I'm a kind of an expert on this because I do have a 30-year-old son. You can raise your kids up with all kind of rules. You can teach them to be good people. You can they can come from a good home and they can walk right out that door and do shit that you never dreamed that they would do. You as the parent could say to yourself, why is this my child doing this? Didn't raise him or her to do that. So the point I'm trying to make is you can't always put it on the parent, especially when they're young, because they make decisions off the dome. They act before they think. That's the nature of being young. And you have to live a little bit. They even say that a lot of scientists said that the brain isn't even fully developed until like you're in your 20s. So these young kids, they're trying to have fun. They do things that we don't as parents agree with. And you know we just do the best we can with what we're working with. I do not want to attack that girl's mother in any way. That woman just went through a double mastectomy in August, and I'm pretty sure if she just had a double mastectomy and they gave the date in August that she had it, she is still recovering. Her body is in shock because her breasts were taken from her. So this is just September 17th. That woman is very much still recovering from surgery. So even out here, able to attend these rallies, able to run to that hotel at 5 o'clock in the morning, I tip my hat to her because hell, I had knee surgery in April and my damn knee is still hurting. So for this woman to have her breast removed just less than a month ago, not one, but both of them, and that meant she had cancer, so she's probably taking all kind of medications now, um, to even get through the loss of her breast and to continue on with her cancer treatment. You don't have your breast removed because you got the flu. You have your breast removed because you had cancer. So this is just the mother just it's just too much in a month. I don't even know if it was me and this happened to my child, y'all wouldn't be hearing from me because I would be somewhere sedated because I had lost my damn mind. I wouldn't be able to get on television and talk about, what happened and give a coherent press conference. They would have been saying, take that bitch off the stage right now because we don't even know what she's talking about. The point I'm trying to make is I tip my hat to any mother who has lost their child and is able to get on television and do a press conference because I would not be able to do it. Now I know that they said that when your child when your family is going through like a missing child, they want the parent to come on and talk and answer all them damn questions. But see, I would be have a spokesperson for the family because Rachel would not be able to talk. I would be somewhere messed up out of my damn mind and not making sense. So I don't want them to be attacking the mother because at the end of the day, when all of this is over and none of us are talking about it or thinking about it anymore, she's got to live with the loss of her child for the rest of her life. And the first Christmas that she's gone, the first Thanksgiving, the first everything that child is gone is going to be hard for that mother. I just hope that when they get finished with this investigation, that a lot of these questions that we all have are going to, are answered because some unanswered, then people will always speculate. Now, one thing that I did tell my mother, the mother, Kenneka's mother, at this point, Kenneka's mother, I believe, still believes that those kids had something to do with her daughter's death. And if her daughter, the evidence shows that the daughter did just simply tragically walk her own self into that freezer, shut the door, and lay there and die. To me, if it was me and I was the head of the police in that city and there were 36 hours of video, I would let her mother watch 36 unedited hours of that video. She would be watching as much as it took for her to feel comfortable about whatever the investigation, because I think for the mother not to blame the kids anymore. If the Kenneka did just walk into that freezer, they're going to have to show her all 36 hours of that video. Because right now, the mother believes that those kids had something to do with her daughter's death. She knows that she's suing the hotel for negligence because, they should have had that, like how I started this video off. They should have had that area, you know, walled off some kind of way where people couldn't get to it. What if a child had wandered down there? You know, what if because I know one time I took my kids to a hotel, you know, it was a Marriott hotel, and my son was a teenager and I knew he could watch my daughter, so I was tired and I told them I'm gonna go back to the room for a couple hours. Y'all play in the pool, don't go nowhere, and blah blah blah. At the time, my daughter probably was maybe 10 or 11. My son was 18 or 19. So he was well old enough to take care of her. But what if my son would have turned his back and my daughter would have been one of those hard headed brats and she wandered off to some place. What if a child had wandered off into that area? You know, someone even younger than her. That was very dangerous for them to leave that area open where the public can get to it. That's the part I'm not understanding. Well, Raymond, I don't think, like my mother said, I don't think that y'all got to think this. It's only been a week. See, I think one thing that people are not realizing is that no investigation is over in a week. Like the cops, think that okay, I'm gonna read Raymond's statement. He said the cops think we're dumb. If she walked into the freezer, wouldn't the autopsy reveal that she froze to death instead of coming back inconclusive? I don't think it's all over. It can't be in a week. That's the part I think people are missing. This investigation is still ongoing. It's not done. They're not finished. If she died Saturday of last week, this is just Saturday of this week. You don't complete, and the toxicology report doesn't even come back that fast. So y'all what I'm saying is hold your horses for a little bit. Wait until they come back on, where I don't know where we gonna find out, because they really not um about this in depth on television. I think also the reason why a lot of people are speculating is because they don't handle our cases, like they do if this was a little white girl. Because, this would have been on all day. If this was a little white girl, a little white 19-year-old girl, it would have been on the news all day, every day, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, every local station. And I'm not saying that we don't want that for them, but we also want it for our kids too. In other words, we don't want them not to investigate their own, but just investigate ours, just like you investigate yours. Okay, I get what y'all saying. Okay. Well, y'all, that's it for me tonight. Thank y'all for coming to talk about it, I guess, because this has just been really a one-way um conversation with me talking and just trying to read what y'all type. Somebody's talked about Natalie Holloway. They ain't still solved that one, and it's like 9 to 10. What, 10 years later, they know the boy that did it, but he didn't do no time for it, did he? And what's funny is she's white. So I think that we got a minute before, you know, I, to answer Raymond's question, the police shouldn't have said anything. They shouldn't have said that they believed that she walked in the cooler and died. They should have said that this is an investigation and we're still working on it. Because when they said that, it made people, I think it was a mistake on their part. They're not going to admit it, but I'm just saying this in my opinion, it was a mistake for them to say that, because what it did is it angered the Black community. Because to us, it was like when they walked upon that little girl in that freezer, they were done with it. And even though they said that, I don't believe that they were done with it. And this is just from listening to people who actually live in Chicago, and they're saying that they believe that the police are investigating this. Now, this is just from somebody who like I said, I have an aunt that lives there, and I have a couple friends that live there. And you ask them, like I'll ask people, if something happens in your city, say that I ask y'all where y'all from, and there was a murder in your city. I always ask the people of that city, what are you hearing on your local news? Because sometimes the I call it the big news, like CNN and MSNBC, you know, unless it's a certain type of case, they really don't get down into the nuts and bolts. If it's like a local case that really hasn't reached national headlines, but your local stations do. Your local reporters sometimes, report the story better than CNN and MSNBC because they have a vested interest, because this is something that's happening in their community. So that's why when people from Chicago are telling me that they believe that from what they've been hearing and what they've been seeing, that the police are investigating this right, then I have to, I'm in Ohio, hell, I have to listen to them. Um, and like someone says, it says live in New York City, local news not covering it. I think my local news may have mentioned it, but it wasn't like they did like a whole segment on it, you know. And let's see, showing it. Um, and I guess it depends on what cities we live in, whether our local news even reported that this baby is missing. Is if you got some daughters, we have a certain talk with our sons. I said I was getting off, but I guess I get a few more words to say, y'all. We have a certain talk with our sons, that's about staying safe with the police and how to act and all that. But I guess we also have to have a certain conversation with our daughters, because a lot of stuff that my son was allowed to do without me driving him, picking him up, and all that was because I said, well, he's 18. If somebody walks up on him, it's going to be a fight. They ain't going to rape him without a fight. But if they walk up on my daughter, you know, so I had a certain talk with her, about, especially when she went to college, about, if you get a drink from, don't let nobody buy you a drink and bring it to you. If you didn't see the bartender pour it, you don't drink it. Don't leave your drink sitting anywhere. That talk we have with our daughters. And don't go off with people. Don't do this. So it is now, especially after this conversation. I did see the story on CNN. It might, but you know what, Nikki, it might not have been CNN. It might have been HLN. That station that does the court shows. It might have been HLN that I saw it on. But y'all, it's just we gonna have to, after this happen, there's another avenue to this now that we got to discuss with our daughters. We told them to like travel in groups, and now we must tell them that when they all get ready to leave, count how many is in the group when you go, and when you leave, count how many are in the group, and don't let came with out of your sight. Don't be wandering off from the crowd. Like, I'm going to give y'all a good example. When I had told my son that when you travel, like when you go to another city as a tourist, don't venture away from the crowd. In other words, don't be walking off somewhere by yourself, because you could get hurt. Now, let me tell y'all what happened. He went to Barack Obama's inauguration. He was one of those people that was registering voters and at the DNC and all that stuff. So I guess this boy had worked so much that they actually gave him tickets to go to Washington to Barack Obama's first inauguration. He's all happy. Now, before he left, at the time he was 21, 22 years old. Before he left, I told him, I said, look, crowd, don't be venturing off by yourself. I said, because they say that certain areas of Washington is really bad, and it's right by the White House. Now, of course, he didn't listen to his mother, and he ventured off, and he got his ass whooped. He was robbed and beat damn near half to death. He didn't tell me that this happened to him till he got back. And this is how he told me. He called me and he said, Mom, I'm at your front door. And he was like, come let me in. And I said, okay. He says, but before you let me in, there's something I got to tell you. And I said, what is it? I'm walking down the stairs as I'm talking to him. Now, he at my front door. I'm walking down the stairs to go unlock the front door. He said, I ran into a little trouble in Washington, and I got a little beat up, And I said, what? So that made me run down the rest of the stairs and open the door. When I opened the door, he was standing there looking like a monster. They had beat the living shit out of my child. He had gashes in his head, scraped all off of his body, eyes swole up, lips swole up. He couldn't even take a deep breath. I think they had bruised a couple of his ribs. He was walking like an old man, like shuffling along. He went down my basement and he did not come up for a week. He was down there about a week. The basement that I had a bathroom down there where you can shower and stuff. Literally, he could not get up the stairs. That's how fucked up they fucked him up. And the moral of the story that he told me is from now on, when he goes somewhere, he's not separating from the crowd, because what had happened is he met some young guys that age, and the people that he was with, they didn't want to go out that night after because they got there the day before the inauguration, or I think it was the night before the inauguration. So when he went to the inauguration, he had been beat up. But I said, how did you go to the inauguration fucked up like this? He said, well, Mom, this is a once in a lifetime thing. I don't care if they had to take me there on a stretcher. I was going. And but the moral of the story is, had he not left the crowd, and he's a guy, and he was 22 years old, but he met these guys that, they said, let's come on and go party. The people he was with was not fun. And the very guys that he met and beat him, he said it was like 6 of them. He said he thought they were going to kill him. And so, that's the moral of the story. So I believe that um, that her friends should have stayed with her. Someone says since they were underage drinking, her friends should be charged. I don't know if they're going to do that, because for that matter, Kenneka was underage drinking. And then Raymond said kids these days need a good ass whooping. I agree, by their parents. But you have some parent who try to be their kid's friend instead of a parent. That's true. Um, Someone says, I agree, these kids are lost these days, but they are a product of the way society has groomed them that way. And we have to remember all these kids have parents, so where is their responsibility? Now, let me tell you something my mother says about this. I guess I ain't through with y'all tonight. I will be saying stuff like, these kids nowadays this, and these kids nowadays that. And you know what my mother will say? My mother is old school. She'll say, and when the first time she said it, I was like, what? And she was like, Rachelle, the generation that we're talking about, these millennials, these is y'all's kids. And if they messed up, she was like, because think about it. If you parented them the way we parented y'all, they wouldn't be messed up. Like we can't whoop them. You know, People saying if you haul off and slap the shit out your child in public, that's child abuse. Get what my mother's saying, and on some level, this whatever way these kids are, at some point, we did make them this way, y'all. Now, when she first said that, y'all, my kids was younger, so I had a little attitude, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. You know how your mama say something, you be like, "Look, shit, it ain't my kids that's bad," but you know how you go away and your anger at your mother, talk shit about your kids. Think about it. My mother was like, you know, whatever is out there, you as the parent, you have control. And if you're not being a parent and disciplining them when they need disciplining them, and she said, I don't mean these 1 day punish, ground them for 1 day, take their phone away. Let me just give y'all an example of one of my mother's punishments. When I was in 11th grade, y'all, I cut school. And I lied to the bitter end. You know how the school call and say your child ain't been to school today? And home, and I should have known that something was up when my mother asked me how school was. And I said it was fine, whatever. And she said, well, your school called here today and they said you wasn't there today. And I said, well, I'm lying, saying that I was there. And the reason why they don't think I was there, I missed homeroom and I forgot to go to the office to sign in, but I went to all my classes and all this shit. So my mother was like, I hope you're telling the truth because I'm coming up to the school Monday. Now, mind you, y'all, my mother didn't drive. So to get to my school, she had to catch 3 buses to get there while I'm on the bus with her. Now, wait a minute. This happened on a Friday. Saturday, she said, Rachelle, are you telling the truth? I was like, yeah. Sunday, she asked me when we were riding there on the bus. She asked me, I don't know why I couldn't tell this woman the truth, but I just couldn't do it. We get to the school, y'all. When I get there, not one teacher was in there. All my teachers was there, and the principal too. My mother walks in the room. She sit down. When them teachers was singing, no, she wasn't here, and she told us she wasn't coming. And I was sitting there thinking, Lord, my mother get up. She pushed her chair in. I think everything. I said, well, she took it well. She probably ain't about to show her ass at school. You know, happen. It's gonna happen when I get home. It's gonna be a long day. Y'all, I saw my mother fumbling around in her purse. I thought she was getting her bus fare together. Y'all, when she pulled her hand out of her purse, she had a belt. The teachers, you know how them bitches are. They was like, do you need a minute? My mother was like, I'm gonna need more than a minute. Now, mind y'all, I was in 11th grade. Proceeded to walk out the room. Now, when they was walking out, I figure I should make my escape then. I should leave out with them. My bright idea was to run. I didn't know that my mother was going to chase me. Right as my mother is chasing me down the hall, the bell rings and all the kids come out to class. Kids can be cruel. They was like, do you want us to catch her? My mother caught me. Not only did she chase me, but the funny part about it, she caught me. That's how fast she was running. She caught me, proceeded to whoop my ass. And you got to think, when you're in 11th grade, you're 17, okay? She whooped my ass in school with a belt. I had to stay there all day after my mother done beat me all through the school. Everybody, even the teachers, was fucking with me. So I get home after school. I was like, this is the worst day of my life. I wish this woman would just go ahead and transfer me to another school. I'm not going to be able to live this down. I get home, I open the front door. My brother's sitting on the couch looking all stupid. They kept pointing at something, and they was whispering like they're, but I couldn't read their lips. When I shut the door, my mother was hiding behind the door, and she beat me again. House. After she got finished beating me, she told me to come sit at the dining room table with her. Lord, now we got to talk too. She told me that I had disappointed her and that she had so much trust in me, and she never dreamed that I would cut school. This is the punishment part that I'm about to tell y'all about. Now, mind you, remember, I got whooped in school. That wasn't enough for her. She thoroughly beat my ass again when I came home. That wasn't enough for her. This happened in September. My mother grounded me all the way until January. Not only was I grounded, I could not speak to my siblings in the house. I had to stay in my room. Now, y'all know, I told y'all I am 52 years old. So back then, we didn't have a cell phone. Back then, a lot of families only had 2 televisions. Kids didn't have televisions in their room. You had a television in your parents' room, and you had a television like the family all watched. So when I was in my room, the only thing I had was the 4 walls and my school books. So one good thing came out of it. I made straight A's. She was very proud. But that's what I'm saying. Parents then, my mother didn't care if the school would have called the police or child protective service on my mother after she had got finished whooping my ass. She wouldn't have cared. She had no fear. She wasn't worried about nobody calling the police on her. I don't mean my mother hit me a couple of times. When I tell y'all, my mother wore my ass out at school, and I was 17 years old. And you know what's the funny part of this, y'all? The and this part of anything really trips me out. Do you know that my mother do not even remember this? When I told her the story, she was like, I came up to your school. I said, wait a minute, you don't remember? So I should be the one who blacked it out. Why she can't remember it? You know? I had to tell her, I said, you don't remember coming up to my school, grade school. She was like, no, I don't remember that. She was like, Rachel, you remember back then I didn't have no car. I said, yeah, you caught the bus up there. I was on the bus with you. You don't remember? She said I was making up stories. She does not remember this. She has no recollection. Not only did that happen, y'all, when I graduated from high school, you know how you're walking across the stage to get your shit? Right in the middle of the stage, they was like, I went to a small all girls school. They said, do y'all remember when Rachel's mother came up here? And that's all they said, and everybody was laughing. I said, look, I quit. You know what? I quit. Is this shit gonna follow me to this day? People that I went to high school with, when they see me, they be like, oh yeah, I remember when your mother came up to the school and beat your ass all through the school. What I'm saying, if we, when my mother says that we didn't, if we would have parented our kids like they parented us, maybe some of this stuff with our kids wouldn't be happening. But what somebody did say, having social media and all of that, that is true. We didn't have social media, and we didn't have so much stuff on television, that exposing us to all this. A lot of times too, I think people treat their kids like adults and they forget that these are kids. um they let shit slide. I got friends that their kids, see, my kids are older, my friends kids are like 11, 12, 13, and I noticed that they kids be talking to them all kind of crazy, smart with them, you know and well, let me just put it this way. I got some friends that's kids are like 8, 9, and 10, because this is my friends that got younger kids. I want to say so bad to them because they think some of the shit their kids say is cute and is funny, and I want to say so bad. Look, let me give you a warning. What you think is cute now, it's not going to be cute when they 15 and 16. You giving them practice of how to tell you off, how to get smart with you. You giving them 8 years of practice. I sat and watched her ask her, one of my friends asked her son to take out the garbage, and he told her, finished doing XYZ. If I'd have told my mother that, been kicked out. She would have drop kicked me in my back, you know? And so I was sitting there waiting for him to go take the garbage out. He never did. And then, you're thinking, and he got smart with her. And I want to tell her so bad, I ain't talking about anything. Go in there and make him do what you tell him to do. Because if you're allowing him not to do it now, you ain't gonna have no control when he older. And this little young man, he be, y'all. When I just say he dogs his mother and his father. I just don't understand, and I kind of agree with my mother on some tips, because I know in my own, and I told y'all this in one video. I said that now that my kids are grown, they're not bad people, but I see shit that I could have done better, because they got some little quirks and idiosyncrasies that sometimes that I want to fuck them up too. So, you know, we got to do better as parents, myself included, and I can't erase mine because my kids are 30 and my daughter will be 23 in December. They're grown. Whatever mistakes I made, I'm gonna have to live with it because I can't re-raise them. But I'm telling y'all, if you got young kids, think about what's cute today ain't gonna be cute when they 15 to 16. Them parents to be like, I'd rather have my kids smoking and drinking at home. I don't understand that either. You know, parents smoking weed with the kids, I don't get that. Parents drinking with the kids, I don't get that. We got to do better because these very kids that we're raising, one day they're going to be running the world. We going to be fucked up, y'all. Because if you know how they are about their phones, I told my son, I said, if it was up, just say that I was having a heart attack, y'all. Now, this funny. Just say that I was having a heart attack and my daughter was at home and I couldn't talk. But if she looked at me, she could clearly see I was in distress. If she get a text message in the middle of me having a heart attack or right as I'm about to have one, I'm gonna be messed up. I'm gonna be fucked up because she ain't gonna never notice because she never takes her eyes away from her phone. And I have to tell her when me and her having a conversation, I have a basket on the table. And I say, before we start talking, put your phone in the basket because I'm not about to be competing with a phone like I'm talking to you and your eyes are glued to the screen of your cell phone. That's disrespectful to me. Be better, and myself included. I'm not just saying, making it seem like it's y'all because I still try to correct the wrongs that I did with my kids. Like I said, they're not bad people, but I can see a couple little areas that I should have studied a little more on because it's some shit that they could better too. And just getting back to this Kenneka thing, don't y'all just think, because as I was talking about this, I just thought of something, and we probably all, this is tragic all around. The kids being in the room is tragic. All the shit that was going on in there. The way the kids was dressed, them having, y'all tell me, men in there that was in their 30s and stuff. This was a a bad situation waiting to happen. Now, it could have not been this. What if it had been something else? You know how these kids don't know how to fight. You remember back in the day, if we had an argument, we would just fight each other, beat each other up, what if they would have got to shooting up there? And, they got in an argument and got to shooting because, all these kids is locked and loaded. It could have been so many things that happened. And I also think that girls can't know the intentions of what's going to happen in a room that is, rented out for the night. They rent a room out and they realize that a team party is going on. I think that hotels should be given the right to stop it. But nowadays, if a person rents a room for their child in the hotel and they want to have a party there and the hotel come in and try to stop the party, you got some parents will be trying to sue the hotel. But I think that allowing kids to be able to rent rooms to have hotel parties in it. Y'all got beds in there. I watched, did any of y'all watch Tammy Roman's video that she had about this and what she had to say about it? She felt like me as a parent, you know, that, you know, the whole situation was crazy and everything that was going on in the hotel was crazy. I guess as parents, we see this a different way, you know? And I just think that all of this, when I go back to thinking about this story, I just still cannot believe that the way that this happened in a freezer, y'all, a freezer. And y'all, I have worked in commercial kitchens. Like I used to work for Marriott, not the hotel, but the place that I worked at. You know how Marriott is the parent company, and they do what is it? Like a company to hire them to be their do their cafeteria. I don't know what you call it, y'all. It's been so many years ago. It was when I was younger. So I am very, very familiar with those commercial freezers. And if she froze that quick, that had to be not the typical freezer. That had to be one of them sub-zero freezers, because I remember when I worked for Marriott, they had one that they just called the walk-in. You would keep your lunch meat and stuff like that. It was like a refrigerator. And then they had one that what they called the freezer. And you would go in there, but it wasn't so cold that if I was in there overnight that I would freeze to death. So what I'm thinking is that the freezer that this girl was in had to be one of them, like that they store meat in. Y'all know the freezers that I'm talking about? That when you open the door, the smoke comes out. You know what I mean? Like the sub-zero freezers, because she froze too fast. I'm reading some of y'all comments. Ye- Yeah, I was thinking about the freezer that they're in. So this is a hotel freezer. So this freezer had to be, you know, like one of those big sub-zero freezers, because to to it was to the point that they had to thaw her out. You can't freeze in the normal, like the freezers that I had at the places I worked at. You wouldn't have froze to death overnight. Now when they done opened it up in the morning, you'd have been a chilly bitch. You'd have been, might have had a little frostbite, but you wouldn't have froze. And from what they said, her hair was wet and stuff, and her mother could tell. Remember, her mother said that she could tell that her hair had been wet, and she believed that the reason, she said that after she had blew up and she thought about them telling her to wait 4 hours before she saw her baby, that she asked it, and it was because they had to unthaw the freezer. I think that they was having to unthaw her too. Yeah, it had to be like, because there are two type of freezers. There's the one that's the normal one, but you know how when you have those big restaurants that they, well, not even restaurants, but big places like huge hotels, they might have a sub-zero freezer. Anybody here ever worked in a, like a big place that has a, and they house like big massive pieces of meat in it, so it's not the normal freezer? Y'all know the ones that I'm talking about? If anybody's saying yeah, because I'm trying to describe this freezer. I've seen one, but it was the only time I've ever seen one is when I worked for Marriott, because I remember that freezer, when you opened the door, all this smoke used to come out. And they said, and they never closed, like when somebody would go in that freezer, they never shut the door. Like the door was left open, and then they would go in and get the meat, and then they would put it in the walk-in for it to, and it would take like a week or so for the meat, or a few days for the meat to defrost. Child, I don't know. Y'all, I done ran my mouth here. Y'all probably saying this girl done been running her mouth this long. It's just that this story is just, I don't know. I don't know. We gonna probably be talking about this again, because y'all know some more stuff will probably come out about this, and we'll be talking about this again. But tonight, y'all, it is like 1:30 in the morning. And I know y'all, at this point, I ain't talking about nothing. So it's best for me to sign off with my thoughts. Y'all keep y'all daughters safe, and y'all stay safe. Cause crazy shit be happening out here, and you never know when it could be happening to you. You know what I mean, y'all? Because I'm pretty sure when she went there that night, good time, and she, I keep thinking she walked in there full of laughter and fun, and she got taken out in the body bag, you know? So y'all stay safe, and thank y'all again for stopping in. See y'all next time.